Welcome back. Well, the New York Times reporting that the federal government is processing citizenship requests at the fastest pace in a decade, all ahead of the November election. The Times writes this: the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services took 4.9 months on average to process naturalization applications in the first 9 months of the current fiscal year. So 4 months it's taking. That compares to 11 and a half months back in fiscal 2021. Joining me now is former acting U.S. Attorney General Matt Whitaker. AG, great to see you. I couldn't believe when I read this story in the Times yesterday. We know what's happening. They're trying to get illegals to vote, and they want to do it as soon as possible in the November election. How surprised are you that now the naturalization process is speeding up going into November 5th?
Yeah, I'm not surprised, and it's good to be with you, Maria. I mean, obviously, this entire policy that was adopted by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has been a cynical attempt to do two things. One, to prop up the economy by injecting another, 10 or 15 million people into the U.S. economy, and now that we're seeing the part two of their plan, and that is to make these folks as quickly as possible U.S. citizens so they can vote in November. It's incredibly cynical.
I mean, is there anything that, anybody can do about this? I mean, the current sitting Attorney General, Merrick Garland, said that he is going to vow to stop voter ID. So you can't even have a voter ID to go vote, and you've got 10 million illegals in the country. They're giving them driver's licenses. A lot of people say they get registration forms to become a voter. I mean, it's illegal for a non-citizen to vote, and yet we're seeing efforts to do just that. Do we just sit back and watch?
Yeah, and in states where the Secretary of State and the people that protect the voter rolls are paying attention, they're having to kick off thousands of illegally registered aliens. And so, the tools are mostly at the federal government. And if you have an attorney general and U.S. attorneys that don't have the intellectual curiosity to make sure that our voting is safe, you of course are going to have folks that should not vote in the election. And then, as we found out 4 years ago, you just can't unring that bell, and it's very concerning. And we need secretaries of state and attorneys general in every state to step up where the federal government's failing.
So, I mean, is this what it's been all about? I mean, back in 2018, then Senator Kamala Harris led a group of Democrat senators in calling for a reduction in funding for ICE. She rejected the appropriations entirely for additional Border Patrol agents and border wall construction. It was very clear that she wanted an open border. And then in 2019, Harris visited a migrant facility in Homestead, Florida. She campaigned for her 2020 presidential election then, and she told Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy where she stands on migrant deportations. Watch this.
What is the difference, the way that you see it, between the children and the parents? Because I know last night there was wide support from all the candidates to not target the parents for deportation if there's not another crime. Is there a difference, the way that you see the children versus the parents?
Of course. I mean, in terms of, they are children. They are children. They are the meekest among us.
Senator Harris.
And we will be judged based on how we treat the meekest among us.
Unfortunately, children are being exploited by drug cartels. Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, meanwhile, reportedly opened up his state to Somali migrants, despite concerns over Somali gangs. A Minnesota nonprofit, American Experiment, also said that the state accounts for 25% of all ISIS recruits in the country. I mean, this is pretty incredible stuff, AJ.
It is, and the terrorism warning lights are flashing red right now. We see the heightened risk like we haven't seen since 9/11. And the migrant crime is senseless. At this point in time, we have, in February, ICE collected 171 people that had committed murder, homicide, or crimes, assaults against children. I mean, it is staggering the amount of, crime that we have had caused by people that are here illegal in our country. You look at Rachel Morin and Laken Riley are two victims that were murdered by folks that shouldn't have been here in this country. And so, I just look at this situation as completely preventable, that, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, this was their policy. In the Trump administration, the last year that President Trump was in office, we had the border under control. That famous chart that saved President Trump's life points out that fact.
That's right. Liz, jump in.
Something that worries me, going back to this issue of people voting illegally, is Michigan passed a law that severely restricts recounts because of fraud allegations. I don't know if other states have done this. This kind of made a little bit of news, which is why it was, known to people. But that seems really concerning to me. As you said, once the vote is in, it's very hard to go back, but it's almost impossible if states like Michigan with Democrat governors begin passing laws restricting the ability to do so. What can we do about this, or what does that mean, do you think?
Well, ultimately, the people are sovereign in the United States, and they need to start asking their elected officials these very hard questions and ask what they're doing for voter integrity, what they're doing to make sure that illegals and people that aren't supposed to vote don't vote. And I'm guessing in states like Michigan, for example, that you point out, the answers are very unsatisfactory. And so, we're going to have to continue to press this issue, highlight this issue, but also, the United States attorneys in Michigan and in other states are going to have to enforce the laws and make sure that these election officials clean up their voter rolls so that illegal aliens that are not entitled to vote don't vote in November.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. I mean, the Republicans are trying to clean up the voter rolls. I spoke with Michael Whatley the other day, and he said that they took out 90,000 quote-unquote voters, which were inactive for so many years, and they don't know if they're dead, if they're even active. So they did remove. So this is an active, ongoing thing going on right now, that they're trying to clean up the voter rolls. But a leaked border memo, it was a Border Patrol memo, revealed that Border Patrol agents arrested a Palestinian migrant on the terrorist watch list at the southern border in New Mexico on Monday. This happened just Monday. It's not known which terrorist organization that he's affiliated with, but he's listed on the watch list for using explosives and arms. This is the fourth suspected Palestinian terrorist caught at the southern border in less than a month. And there have been over 1,700 encounters of migrants on the terrorist watch list at our country's border since 2021, AJ. I mean, how is this possible? And these are just the ones we know of, right? I mean, 359 on the watch list just in fiscal year 2024 that we know of.
Yeah, and 99 of those were paroled into the country in the last year and allowed to come into the United States. I think if you're a terrorist organization, you would, of course, exploit the United States of America's weak immigration enforcement system and hope that you can do harm on the United States. We are the #1 target for these terrorist acts, and obviously our strong support of the country of Israel has brought new attention from Palestinian terrorists and Hamas and the like. But this is something that we just we're spending way too much time and money with the FBI and other groups trying to track down these folks that are already in our country instead of preventing them coming from in the first place. And with over 2 million known gotaways and who knows how many unknown folks, you can imagine that right now we have a lot of people on our streets in the United States of America that want to do us harm. That all you can do right now is pray that the FBI is doing their best job, because we are so vulnerable that it is almost incomprehensible what this Biden-Harris administration has done.
And Christopher Wray has said this multiple times in hearings and on the record briefings, that he's worried about a 9/11 type attack because partly of the open border and what you just said, what's going on in the Middle East. AJ, we'll be watching. We hope to talk with you along the way. We so appreciate your time this morning, sir. Thank you.
I need this message to go out to our vice president who's running for president. I have heard all over social media about, excuse me if I say anything wrong, immigrants getting loans, money. It was hard for me to believe. It was just extremely hard for me to believe. I've been in business such a long time. Back in 2019, I purchased my first food truck. It cost me over $25,000. I paid it cash money. I worked hard to pay for this truck. I'm now selling it because I'm doing other things, but I'm selling it. I had a guy come to look at purchasing my vehicle or my food truck. And he explained to me he's an illegal immigrant. He has no credit. He has no money in the bank. But he showed me his paperwork that he will receive funds to purchase my food truck. I'm thankful that he's buying it, but I'm hurt that I worked so hard to pay cash for my food truck. I have good credit, can't even get a business loan because of the color of my skin. I have veterans in my family. I'm a veteran. I've been self-employed for so long. But somebody, please tell me, how do I work so hard to have somebody who comes to this country, not long, no credit, and he shows me paperwork where they'll be funding him money to buy my food truck. And when I talked to the bank, they told me usually they have to go straight to a dealership because I'm a private sale. But for special circumstances, they're going to, they allow it. But I need my president to tell me why I worked so hard all these years, all these decades. Couldn't get a business loan, but I bust my ass to get the money to create my business. And we got immigrants coming here. And they're getting money. Money! We're doing nothing but just being here. It's not right, and I want answers.
Our favorite policies. Oh my gosh. See, I wish they would tell us more about that because I honestly don't know. I know she's done some good work with immigration, even though they say opposite.
What do they say?
Well, what is it? She's the border czar.
She's the fake border czar.
It's her fault that all these immigrants are coming over, to cross the border right now, which I don't think they are.
People have been saying that Kamala is the border czar, or whatever that means. Is there an issue at the border? Has Kamala done anything about it? Or was there not anything to do about it, and so they're just kind of making things up?
So I don't think there's an issue with the border at all. I feel like, yes, illegal immigrants are coming to America, but that's what America's all about, is to come to America and live that American dream, because America isn't just for the whites. It's not just for the blacks. It's not just for the Mexicans. No, it's for everyone around the world. We're supposed to be a country of letting people come in and do what they'd like. I mean, I understand that with they say the border crisis is causing all these drug issues and is causing crime, but in my opinion, there's crime everywhere. You can go to New York, you can go to Canada, you can go anywhere across the world, and there's going to be crime regardless.